I don't know. It's a special alloy that they have developed, and it's one of their trade secrets.
A trade secret.
Yes.
Trust me, if you there Jamaica, lock it up.
We're going to figure it out.
I figure it out. Trust me, man.
All right.
We have a way to figure out things. Hey, if you left this at Jamaica and you come back here, you see them up on the roadside and sell it up. You think I joke? Yeah, man. But me love the sound I do. I mean, it have a. Make you hear something. Make you hear something again. Yes, we're still there with Kimati Dinizulu, and we are going through the pieces of instruments and even crude instruments that we say we usually play when we are youth and things. But this instrument here, trust me, yes, serious instrument, serious instrument. All right, New York, you that tell me about a museum. The only museum that I know that really is dedicated to black is a museum named Museum in Black. I don't know if you've ever been there in Los Angeles. Aboriginal own it. No. When you go in there, it's like everything in there. They keep everything in there from the African experience in this part of the world and beyond. You have a similar thing happening in New York.
Well, we have a cultural center, Ames of Jarway, the Dinizulu Center for African Culture Research in Jamaica, Queens. We've been in the same location over 30 years.
Oh, yeah?
And we have an exhibit which we're getting ready to launch, a forensic examination of the transatlantic slave trade. And it has...
Trail.
Yes, that's the name of the exhibit. It has over about 500 items in it. Most of the items in it are paper, ephemera, documents, bill of sales, manumission papers,
posters of slaves being sold,
all sorts of things. And then we also have a lot of artifacts from the African diaspora to show how, even though we were enslaved in one sense, we were able to keep those cultures.
Yeah.
And we have a very strong component from Jamaica. We have Gene Pearson's work in it. We have Christopher Gonzalez's work. We have Gilbert Nicely's work. We have Lawrence Edwards' work. We have Natalie Bond's work. We have some good works in there to show not only how...
Yes. But the continuity of the African experience in this part of the world.
Yes.
All right. This instrument that you brought to me here, I don't know how much people know this instrument here, but we want to show it. It looked like a thing where I used to hold up still. But tell the people then, what is that?
This is a branding iron. It's from Georgia, the southern part of the United States. It's made out of iron and wood. It's a couple of 100 years old. It was probably made by an enslaved African who was brought over specifically to be a blacksmith. You can tell by the workings here. A lot of the Akan blacksmiths, and a lot of Akans were used as blacksmiths in America during the transatlantic slave trade because they had a high level of knowledge
about
in terms of
metals and
things.
Yeah.
And you can see that it was put in coals and fire, and then it was used to brand human beings.
But you know, this looks like a Dinka symbol. I
Yes.
hope people might not understand what I'm talking about, but if you go up on the website, we can't bother explain that to you. Go find it out for yourself. But this look like a Dinka symbol.
Yes.
The branding
Yes,
part of
yes,
it here.
yes.
It really,
Well, you know what? It was straight. See, when we were enslaved, we still had ways of fighting back.
yes.
If you look at a lot of the ironwork or the woodwork, we had our symbols up in there,
Yes.
which were our codes and our messages to each other, because we were forbidden in some of these societies to speak our language or to
Yes,
name our
yes.
children
And even
according
beat the
to
drum. They
Right.
never even want to beat the drum.
deaf.
Yes.
Deaf.
You know, when I heard that I was going to speak to you and you know you're showing some artifact that you have, you know, I have a little artifact, little thing at my home too, and I brought this. You know, this is an actual whip. This is a whip that used to beat our ancestors from them time. They're a couple 100-year-old. And
How did you acquire it?
I can't tell you that.
Okay, understood.
I went to time warp.
Okay.
I went into a time warp. But this is a serious thing.
Yes.
So you have things like these in the.
We have 3 types of slave whips. There was a whole we have a flogger, which was used on a Danish or Dutch slaver ship.
Yeah.
We have a whip for children, and we have one for adults.
Okay. So what? Tell me the difference. Like for this whip, what you said this whip?
That's a field whip. That was
Field.
used in the plantation.
Them used to beat the fields.
Yes, that's a field whip. They would use that in the field.
Yeah, and some the children whip now, how that would
It's like that, but it's about this long. It's very small.
Yeah.
See, a lot of these things, we have a whole section called Tools of Humiliation.
in the museum.
Yes, because some of the implements that were used on us weren't just to inflict physical pain, but was to break us psychologically and spiritually also.
And I know that they used to have the mothers watching these things, especially with the husband, so as to make the child be passive when it is born, because they use these pregnant mothers to watch these tortures, and then the fear of the mother would mean that the child, when the child born, they would teach the child not to rebel and not to create any disturbance because of that fear of that would happen to the child. After not making an album for how much years playing, I realize that you're in Jamaica now and you're doing work here, but the album is part of your Jamaican experience.
Oh, definitely so. The first slave document I ever held was in the mid-'80s when I went to a compound. I met a man named Man O'Rourke, who was a colonel at that time up there. And he let me hold and showed me some documents, and I interviewed him. I still have the audio recording. And this was in the mid-'80s.
Yeah, so it's inspired to come back here and do.
Well, I saw the Aben here and immediately identified it with the Aben in Ghana. They call it the Aben in Ghana.
Yeah.
So this is home, and it only takes 3.5 hours to get here. That's right.
Yes. All right. Yeah, the bridge, I remember name Kofi Ganaba. That is a serious drummer. And Olatunji. Olatunji was the first drummer that I know I got exposed to from Africa. Babatunde Olatunji.
Well, he
died
wasn't, because long before Olatunji with Asadada Defora, who came in 1930, Asadada was a drummer.
Yes.
In fact, I have one of his drums because he gave one of his drums to my mother.
Okay.
And she gave me the drum. Well, my father used the drum when he, at a gig with Maya Angelou and Olatunji at the Apollo Theater.
Yeah.
In the late 50s, early 60s. I have the paperwork and the posters for that.
Yes.
So I think that he had a drummer called Odoc and also Moses Mann. These were drummers who were in the United States of America, but they didn't become popular. Olatunji was probably the first one to really become